Hi, I'm Laura,
And my name's Farah.
and this is Wild Women Wednesdays. And today we're going to talk about a topic that is near and dear to many people's hearts, and that is dimming our light. And so many of us have had experiences where we have played small or not shown as bright as we possibly can. And so we want to dive into that topic. And Farah, of course, has a wonderful quote that she's going to kick off this episode with.
Yes, and it is by Rumi, who is one of my favorite poets of all time, and he has inspired me time and time again, but this is one of my favorites. Stop acting so small, you're the universe in ecstatic motion. And
Yeah.
it reminds me of this idea that we are kind of a part of this larger force, and to be able to stand in the full power of that, because that's truly what we're meant to do here, instead of dimming or even trying to be a lesser version of who we know we are deep within.
I love that, Farah. Thanks so much for sharing it.
Of course. I know, Laura. So we got to dive in because this is a topic we've both kind of like explored. We've been thinking about this. And I'm just curious, like, is there a time in your life where you felt like, or even you were conscious that you were playing small?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. When we picked the topic out, immediately came to mind was a past relationship that involved money. So I think many of us have issues talking about money in general or really understanding our worth. And that's definitely an episode for another time. But it's interesting that it's, I think, the core of this experience because I was in a relationship with an individual who we work together. Highly do not recommend doing that. And this workplace had an insane performance bonus program. And so there were high achievers who got extra bonus depending on, your evaluations. And, it's supposed to be super secret on the down low, but, in the workplace, nothing's ever secret. So, my partner at the time, he was not a high achiever and he was really resentful. Like he was absolutely certain he should be one. He should be in the program. And he was just like a lot of anger and resentment around this program. And so I was in the program and I wouldn't tell him. Like I just like wouldn't say anything, when I'd get the acknowledgement and get the bonus money. I just like wouldn't address it. And, the first few times it was, he just, I think, assumed since I didn't talk about it that I didn't get one also. But then he started to ask like if I would. And then honestly, I'd lie to him.
Really?
And so I'd hide away the money. We didn't share accounts or anything. So it's not like he knew he would see it or anything, but like I'd adamantly just scroll away. I would not celebrate my accomplishments. I would not, purchase anything out of the ordinary, nothing special. Like I just would like hide myself and hide the money away.
Like almost like trying to hide your success because it really was a symbol of the fact that you were performing and doing well at work, right?
Yeah. And I just knew like with all the anger he had about the program and those people not being in it, would have been directed at me. And, I felt that if I had told him, like receiving that anger, it would have come across in a way that was like diminishing as well. Like, why did you get it? You're not so special. Like I could just tell that that would be the tone if he knew that I got it and that I was receiving it. And so, it was quarterly or, every 4 months. And so we dated for 2 years. So there was a lot of quarters that went by and
Okay.
just like over and over, just kind of hit it. And finally, actually, the quarter before we ended up breaking up, he actually achieved one and, he was through the roof and so excited. And, he took us out to a fancy meal to celebrate, it was just all about it. And, it's just interesting, to play along with that and be like, oh, so excited and acknowledging his light. But this whole time had just kind of like dimmed mine and hid it away and like, just kind of was so uncomfortable, felt unsafe. It felt like, emotionally vulnerable to even acknowledge my accomplishments or take the time to celebrate myself.
Totally. Well, and I think there was also this fear that if you were to share them with him and be vulnerable in that way, that he would ruin it because he would then pick you apart or start to ridicule you or question the fact that you even deserved it. And it was almost like, I don't want to go down that road. I don't even want to acknowledge this because it's easier for me to like kind of at least internally know this than have to engage with him about it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And, that didn't make me, um, it hurt my confidence, not being able to like step into my whole light. And so to continue just to play it small to, appease someone else's ego, highly do not recommend.
But I think we do it so much. I think everyone does it to a certain extent. And I think some people feel more comfortable with kind of having the light on them, being in the limelight. That might feel more safe for some people. But then for others, it's like, why would I want to do that? Because I think when you do step into the light, you also are more subject to criticism and just judgment because people are then comparing themselves. I think that that's where this like fear comes in. Like it becomes an instant comparison of like who's really worthy of this acknowledgement and recognition, you know?
Yeah. Well, what about you, Farah? Do you have a time where you consciously turned down your light?
When we started talking about this and I started just journaling about it just to kind of explore the idea in general, I recognized that I actually went to a Vedic astrologer back in when I was graduating college. And a Vedic astrologer, they like go into in depth. It's very common in India, and like they'll have it when they're older, and it pretty much has like predictive qualities to it that it gives you themes that are going to occur within your life. And as you know, I love astrology. Vedic astrology is a little different, but so once I had a few friends go to this woman, Kathleen Wallen. She's fantastic. She's just like on a next level. And anyway, so I went to her and I always kind of felt like I don't know if I was consciously dimming my light, but I never like I didn't like to be the center of attention. Like I was comfortable when the light was on me, but I didn't seek it out. I guess is probably like the best way to describe it. And I think growing up as the youngest of four girls and like just having a lot going on in the family dynamic at all times, like I was just more of like stay quiet, do what you got to do, just be the good kid, and like get through like life, and that just seemed easier for me. And I didn't necessarily always need the recognition to feel like I was doing a good job. So I think for me, I was kind of like, I'll give that to myself, kind of like with you. Like, I don't need everyone to know that I'm getting these bonuses because I know I'm getting them and that's enough. But again, I think then it diminishes the kind of the celebration of the wins and of ourselves as a whole. Anyways, long story short, coming back to, so I went to a Vedic astrologer. So I was like, I started getting this philosophical thought process. I was like, no, Ferry, there's a story you were sharing. So then I went to Kathleen and she was like, you are meant to shine. Like she was like, your whole life, you're going to be like kind of learning. And like right when she started saying it, I remember the lights are coming in through the window. And
Oh,
she was
beautiful.
I know it was like very like eerily accurate is how I like describe her like sessions.
Mm.
But she was like, you are really meant to step into your power, and there's gonna be this is like literally the mission of your soul on this earth is to like come into your own and be able to stand in it with full and total confidence because you're going to be up against a lot of things that are going to try to push you down and you're going to constantly have to break through these barriers but that's what you're meant to do, and unless you're doing that you're really not like living the life that you were meant to. And ever
Wow.
since that was like always in the back of my mind, like, oh shit, like what am I doing? That's like that like do I need to break through this? Like what's this? Like is this opportunity for me to grow? And so it's been a lifelong journey to say the least, of me just being comfortable with myself and confident enough in myself to feel like I was worthy of really anything. Like I've always actually really struggled with low self-worth, and so to feel comfortable and like good about myself. I know that sounds terrible, but like to actually really think that I was like something special was I don't think I really even like there was things about me that I felt like were positively reinforced, but it wasn't because they were really me. It was almost like I learned this behavior in order to get positive like reinforcement from other people. in acknowledgement, but then in actuality, it was kind of me just putting on a mask in order to fit in. Um, and until I started doing yoga and got into meditation and really started understanding who I really was, I think up until that point, it was always, it was a slippery slope of insecurities that plagued me for most of my life. So, Laura.
Oh, Farah. Oh, there's no good transition out of that. That's hard. That's rough, right? Like that's what we all struggle through.
I know, and I think most people don't know this. I think most people, when they meet me or see me from the outside looking in, they're like, "Oh, she's so positive. She always is in a good mood. She's always in this good space." Like,
Yeah.
and I've had a ton of people like, "Oh, you just always have it all together," and I'm like, "No, like I do not have it all together. I am just like doing the best that I know, but I'm so critical of myself that like in my mind, doing the best is like I'm still like leaps and bounds from where I want to be. So for me to like say that I'm doing well now." I can celebrate wins, small wins now, but when I was younger, it was like, I would say I wasn't allowed to wear a two-piece bathing suit because I didn't have a six-pack. Like that's kind of like was my mentality. If I'm not the best, then
Right.
like I'm nothing. And that's kind of what it was. And now I'm trying to find out that my definition of what the best is can vary, and I also need to like create my own standard in order to be confident and love where I am in the journey of it all.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love your history there. I think it's so relevant to what everyone kind of goes through a version of that, trying to find their footing and, having to make that active decision that like, yeah, I want to celebrate the wins and I want to shine.
Yeah. And I once I was in a yoga class and I actually there's this quote. So another quote for you guys. And this is I only say I'm bringing this one up because this was the moment that I recognized that I was playing small. And it's because my deepest fear wasn't that I wasn't enough. That wasn't it. It was almost that I was so powerful that I would actually have to like really own that and be that version of myself, which is terrifying. Or at least at that point in time, it was terrifying to me. So, our deepest fear is, but this is by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us most. And there's more to it, but I think that that was the part that really like jumped out at me because I recognized like I am playing small. Like it really is. I don't want people to feel insecure. I don't want to stand out too much because then, in high school, like someone's going to poke at me or someone's going to like ridicule me or start a rumor about me or girls are going to hate me or I'm going to get all of this flack that, if I'm just small and I just fit into the box and I kind of blend in with everybody else, I won't get the negative, I won't get as much attention, but at least I won't get a negative attention. And then I just realized that that comes along with being yourself in whatever version of it is. And like, you can't control that. You can't control any of it. So like, why try? And like, all I can really do is be myself. And if that's me shining bright, then shine away.
So what part, like, where were you in your life? I mean, you said that you had this moment when you heard it and you realized you were playing small. Like what was going on for you?
I was about 24, if I remember correctly. I was 24, 25. I just started practicing yoga on a regular basis. I was going to this incredible studio that I actually got trained at and now teach at. And so it's always like been a really special place for me because it really is where I came into my own. But I think it was with career, it was with everything. Like I think there was a moment where I just I didn't know my own worth. And I
Yeah.
think once I actually liked myself, then I was like, "Oh, I'm like kind of cool. I'm doing shit,
You're
like
hella cool.
but I like at first there was always this like you always we are our own worst critics, and so in my mind I just was never enough. And so then once I was like, no, maybe I am, like maybe I can. And so then I like stopped trying to be this version of Farah that I felt like was what was more easily digestible or more palatable to people. Is that what the word is? Whatever. Like to be able to be in that space. So then I just started like being all of me. Then I was like, you know what? I'm going to like say what I think. I'm going to like, if I like, I'm excited about something, I'm going to be excited about it. I'm going to dress like, this is why I'm wearing cheap print today. I was like, like I'm going to like, I'm not going, and even within the last year, because I think I started playing small again, I went through a little depression and I was coming out of that. And I recognized that like for my partner, I think it was easier for him to be himself when I was not as bright as I would be normally. Because then I think it made him feel like almost superior. And, I think there's always this superior inferiority complex that comes up in relationships, even with dynamics within race in our society. Like it runs, I think, rampant within America. And but then once I got through that, I was like, it's not that anyone's better or worse than anyone. We're just all like, just be you. And like, we're all equal in that way. And if we're all comfortable with ourselves, you never see someone that's like super secure with themselves bringing other people down, right?
Yeah.
It's like they just want to lift other people up. And I, once I got to that point, I think this past year, then I've just been like, literally like you think of the lampshades just getting thrown off one after another because like I'm never going to play small again. Like I recognize that I don't need to and I'm never going to do this, and to just really rock it, and just like be sassy when I feel sassy and like be able to like be like, and if I'm in a like good mood, bad mood, whatever, like this is all of me and you can like it or you don't, and doesn't really change how I view myself because I still like me either way. And that's taken a lifetime to really be able to say and mean. And I think you can say it, people can, fake it till you make it, the facade of it, but to really feel that to your core is just something I hadn't yet dove into. What about you, Laura? How has the revealing process been for your own personal light and kind of shining as bright as you can?
I think that it's, yeah, like you said, it's, one shade after another and take your time with it. I struggled, for a long time. I remember being told, I thought, showing up and demonstrating skills was, a good quality. And remember being told like, oh, people think you're cocky, not confident. And it's like, whoa, clearly I'm too bright in this place. And that really stuck with me. It really turned, the dimmer switch got, got turned down because, it's hard to hear like, oh, like, it definitely feels like you're too bright. Like, no one would tell a boy like, oh, you're cocky, not confident. So, it just kind of lived with that kind of feeling in the workplace for a long time. And, finally, like the last year of my career felt that I could fully step into, my light. And, I'm kind of quirky and weird and not a traditional HR professional at all. And, it was really finally recognized and embraced by the team I had in the last year, which felt so good, which helped even, shine even brighter.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I decided to transition to my own business, now it's like, there's days where I'm absolutely terrified. Like, okay, what's going to happen here? And are people even going to want to work with me? And I can feel myself getting smaller and smaller when I have those thoughts of like that worrying about where's the next contract going to come from, or worrying about, why would anyone even want to hire an HR consultant? Why, finding myself getting dimmer and dimmer and realizing like, yeah, no one wants to hire a dim version of that. Right? Like people want to know and feel confident in you. And so realizing like I need to shine and fully embody that shine in order to be attracting, right, the work I want to do and the clients I want to work with. And so really trying to keep that at the forefront of my mind as I, navigate this new strange self-employment world too, because it's, it's just so important to like remember like you have something to offer and to feel alive about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to be able, I think, like you said, when you're the most authentic version of you and you're stepped fully in and owning your power in that way, then you are going to naturally attract the people that are meant to work for you. And then that only equates to more success for you because you are on your path. At least that's like what I think of, like, when we're really on purpose and path, like the universe conspires to help us, is like from The Alchemist. And I always like keep that in the back of my mind, like when we're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing, things just fall into place because they're meant to. And but we have to trust ourselves to make those decisions in those moments too.
Yeah. And, I think I would have, in the past when I'm dim, I would have heard, quotes that we've shared today and, just honestly, some kind of cliches. They're cliches for a reason. That's fine. They're, just sayings that, get used often, but I would have heard them and been annoyed, also sarcastic, or just like, yeah, cool. Well, that's nice to hear that. But like, what is that really?
Yeah.
And so, when you're kind of down or dim,
Yeah.
it's hard to hear those things because you don't believe them.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
it's hard to really incorporate something that you don't believe is possible. Like if we don't believe in yourself or even in your abilities, then like you're like, yeah, great, like go shine bright. But it's like, what does that even mean and how do I do that? And I think sometimes the practicality of it seems too far fetched, but
Yeah.
it's because I think it's a feeling that has to be embodied and felt in order to truly be able to live it. You can't just like say it, you gotta live it.
Every time we say shine, I think shine bright like a diamond.
Yeah, like a diamond. Sorry, I won't even try to sing that one. Well, and I saw this like one thing on Rihanna, and it was like, you want to know why people like obsessed with her? It's because she is like all of her. Like Rihanna gives zero fucks about what anyone else thinks of her, and I think we can all see that from afar. Like she's owning it, but that's the attraction level. That's why people are just gravitating towards her because she is like who she. I think when you see that soul version of someone, you're like, I want more of that. Like that's what I want in my life, and it's because they're kind of seeking that for themselves. One of my good friends and actually the studio owner of the studio that I practice at and teach at, Leah Zakaria, she wrote a book and it's called Seen. And it's
Mm.
all about how we really just want to be seen as who we really are. And that is really like this journey of our life is to be able to just allow people. And like I think that that's sometimes what holds us back is like, can you allow yourself to be seen? Because then that's also super vulnerable. It's like, because not everyone's going to necessarily like you, like it
Yeah.
won't be something that everyone accepts or wants. So like, are you okay if people see you and reject you? And I think that's always was like the thing that was like, ooh, felt like weird to me and like uncomfortable. It's like, oh no, you don't need to see all of me. I'll just give you the version of me that like is like the most like aligned with whatever you are, and then I'll like omit the other parts of me because that feels safer. And so for me, shining is like, no, it's like it's all or nothing. So you're gonna get all of me, or you're not gonna get any of it. And like, and if you don't like that, then it's no what is it, weight off my back, no sweat off my back. I don't know, that seems gross, but yeah. You think
Yeah, it's like we self-edit, like we reject ahead of time to prevent, someone else from rejecting that part of us, edit ourselves down and it's just shitty.
it is well, and because I remember when you were talking about with your partner and how like you're like, oh, I just didn't tell him that I was getting the bonuses, and I was like, it's interesting because you don't actually know how he was going to react, like he may have been encouraging, like you really don't know. But I think that again, we self-edit because in our minds we're like, it's almost like it's our light, it's like our profoundness that actually scares us, because then we're like, if we have to do that, then where there's an accountability to continue and to like really be that person, that version of who we are. And that can be even more intimidating than maybe even other people's reaction of it.
And I know hindsight's so 2020, right? Like I want to rewind so badly and be like, well, like if I could talk to myself, younger self, I'd say, like, why do you want to be with a partner you can't be your brightest self with, right? And it's like, well, maybe if I had been that bright self, then, would the relationship have ended earlier? And, that would have been great. So, you know?
Get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why do you want to be with a partner you can't shine your brightest with? And, it's, I think that's something super important to remember as, I navigate meeting new people and, our search for new partners is that, I want to be my fullest self and I want to shine as bright as I can. And, enable a relationship where my partner feels they can shine as brightly as they would like to as well.
Mm-hmm. Want to support and encourage each other to do that. And that is only going to lead to more like authentic conversations. And like it kind of cuts out the bullshit from the start. Because it's like, if you don't like these parts of me, then like we probably shouldn't even be hanging out because this is like who I am. And, and not doing that kind of like omitting of our, personality in order to make sure that they either like you or hate you. And it's no reflection of your worth. And I think that that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah. I did have my first boyfriend. I've only actually had two boyfriends in my life. Funny enough, I've never been much of a dater. Some may say I have commitment issues, but we will not address those in this conversation. I was with my ex-husband for 12 years, so we were together for an extended period of time. But nonetheless, just to say that I have done it, but I am hesitant. Nonetheless, my first boyfriend, we met and we instantly hit it off, and he like really liked how outgoing I was. But then I remember we were at a baseball game, and I was like, woo! I was like yelling, or I was doing something, and he was like, "You're so loud. Like, I need you to just be quiet. Like in life, I just think you need to be quieter." And like I am kind of loud. But then I was like, and so at the time I was kind of like that was my initial reaction. But then afterwards I was like, it was hard to not absorb that feedback and like take it into account. As much as I rejected it in the moment, there was, I think, a little piece of me that felt like maybe there was truth to it. So then I like felt like I needed to adjust who I was in order to be more acceptable or be deemed more like desirable to him, maybe even. And but he was, yeah, there was some other weird stuff that he like, and even like I was like when I was younger, I was very comfortable with my sexuality, and he had grown up Mormon, and so for him he was like, no, no, no. And this is where I lost my virginity too. We won't say his name. And so I was just going to say his name. I was like, no, don't say his name. But he was also very much like, no, you need to be like, you should be like meek about it. Like, you shouldn't want me to see you. And you should like kind of like almost be kind of almost shy about it. Like, I want you to be like more timid in the bedroom because like that's how girls should be, kind of thing. And I'm sure there's a lot, we won't get into the religion talk and how that probably played a part into his like perception of like sexuality as a whole, especially within Mormonism. And no knock, I actually come from a Mormon family myself, but but in my mind, I was like, I felt shame around it afterwards because I was like, oh, like, don't be too forward. Like, that's a negative thing. Like, be coy. Like, be the girl that, like, like, no, like, I don't want your attention. I don't want you. But, like, and actually I do, It was, like, always this, like, cat and mouse game. And I wasn't like that before. And then I, like, almost, like, took that on from him because he was like, no, that's what makes girls, like, sexy, is actually you being more, like, innocent and, like, quiet and, like, timid. And why I was with him, looking back, I have no idea. Cause like me just saying this makes me want to vomit a little bit. But like that's the truth. I was also like, what, 17? So I was like 17 to 19 years old, having no idea. Like just
Yeah.
it was my first boyfriend. First I lost my virginity to him. It was like all the things. And so like I don't think I understood what it meant. And he was like so committed and like so he wanted to, like we were talking about marriage. So like hallelujah, we did not get married. But like you look back on it and it's like, how do we not let this subconscious like thoughts of other people affect how we view ourselves and like kind of incorporate that into our programming of what it means to be a woman or means to be attractive, all of these pieces.
Yeah. No, I think, it's all we have is examples, right? Like, I know we're kind of at that age, right? Where, there's no social media, there's no internet that you're using to like, I mean, there's a little bit of MySpace finally when we were like seniors in high school, but like what we have is then what's on regular TV, which is always the woman stereotype of, you're not a main character. You don't have that lead character energy. You have, this downplayed role. And then you see, familial life, and you see, quiet mom and a subservient wife. And, that's what you see, an obedient girlfriend, so we didn't have all that. Yeah, we had I think that's why a lot of us were attracted. I don't know about you, Farah, but I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer because it's
Oh, I
finally
love
like,
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, yes. But
but
then finally a lead character and a strong woman. But even though Sarah just, what's, no, I was gonna say Sarah
Sarah
Jessica.
Michelle Gellar.
Sarah Michelle Gellar, there you go. She was so tiny though. In actual like physique, she was like very miniature. But yes, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, finally taking that like lead role and but again, I think you saw her in romantic relationships start to play herself small too. But anyway, it's I did the same. Yeah. But I did the same thing you did, right? I took on a role in relationships that were really based around romantic comedies, or just like what you saw on TV. And that is super detrimental. So as we continue to diversify, the media that we digest and our children will digest, and others do, it's great to show different examples and continue to spotlight bright diamonds.
Yeah. Well, and I think especially now within the recent years, this real female empowerment movement is occurring, and I think it's incredible because I think that's exactly what needs to happen in order to have examples of strong, independent women that are then like infiltrating our society as like commonplace. Be able like Serena Williams, or like even like Lizzo. I constantly talk about Lizzo or J Lo. All of these women are coming in and they're like owning it, and they're like, hey, like I'm me, and I'm gonna be like, and I don't care what people think of it, and I'm just gonna own that, and like that's what we need more of. And I think that like you like Marianne Williamson quote goes into like when we get it. When we shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to shine as well. And I think the more that we step into our own light, then we kind of like have this like little aura that's like, come on in. Like, I see your light. I see you. I see you. I see you. Like, let's all turn up let's turn up the volume on who we truly are, and so it's amplified. And then it just like, what if we were always all really stepping into that? I think of, when I became a mother, that was a huge part of it. Like, I need to be an example to her. And that honestly, it crosses my mind every single day. Like, what example am I leading for my daughter? Like, what will she think when she's older, or in these times and like these moments? Like, how can I explain to her what my thought process was, and how can I explain to her what I was doing and why I was doing it? And she's a sassy, she came out the womb like fierce, to say the least, and she very much is. She's an Aries, for anyone who's similar to astrology, and I love that. And I remember I was pregnant, and I was like, I'm going to have. I'm literally holding my belly as I'm doing right now. It's like, I'm going to have a strong, independent woman inside of me, and I need to be a strong, independent woman in order to be able to live this example, and for her to like be able to look up to me when she's older. And like I would say the moment that she came out, every decision I've made has been aligned with that, because I know the force that was in me. And then but I didn't, I recognize that if I'm stepping into my power, that's only going to benefit me. And then I get to be a better example for her too. And now I'm curious, do you have someone in your life that you think of when you think of like strong, independent woman that you can like aspire to, or that inspires you?
For the longest time, I definitely looked up to my mom.
Yeah.
She is such a badass who, she came from nothing, and, one of six siblings, and, went back to college when she was in her 40s, and she retired as a CFO. Like, she worked so hard and was, made so much of her life. And so she was a huge role model. And really drove like substantial independence and achievement oriented. So that was a huge influence in my life. And that was, it continues to be just an influence, and and then a cheerleader, right? Like somebody who says, hey, let's keep going. Like, what else can you do? What else do you want to do? And let's get you there.
Yeah. Well, and to have that positive, like, cheerleader in the background, it really does make a world of a difference, because it kind of makes you believe that you can do it, and that people are supporting you on the journey to achieve it.
Yeah.
And it's always nice to have someone in your, yeah. in your court?
What
Cheering.
about you, Farah? Like you are the role model for your daughter, but who do you look up to?
Oh, I look up to a lot. I'd say there's a lot of people in my life that I look up to. Obviously, my mom um, is. My mom's a very strong woman. Like she's a talk about force. My mom's a force. She comes off timid, but little do you know, she is scary as a motherfucker. And so she was always like, I think, especially like raising four girls on her own, like I can't even imagine, to be perfectly honest. Like being a single mom with four girls, like I'm sure that was a challenge. And she did her best, and
Yeah.
she did a damn good job, and we all turned out pretty good. So like I think, she did what she needed to do. And I would say my mom, I have four older sisters, so I'm the youngest of four girls. And all of my sisters are very different. We're all extremely different from each other, but there's little characteristics of each of them that I know has played a part in like my personality and how I was raised. And I think I was able to be like, I was always questioning myself when I was younger, but it's almost because I was so dynamic that I didn't know, like I didn't know anyone else that like was like me. So then I just was like, let me just like be these other versions. But I think I always kind of I'm grateful that my sisters, like when I was younger, learned how to ride a bike, and I remember them like naming the hill after me because like I went down a big hill, and I remember just being like so stoked. It seems so
Oh,
silly and like trivial, but like at the time it was like made my like day.
yeah.
And like, when I got older, and then like inviting me to go hang out with their friends, and like when you're like the younger sister that's coming along, and like you see them and they're like kind of owning it, and it just always inspired me, and they continue to, they're all mothers, and I definitely learn a lot from them day in and day out as well. And and then I have a lot of friends that are, I always look to my friends that were really confident, that internal confidence that you're just like they can't be shaken. And
Yeah.
I always thought it was like fascinating because I was like, how do they just like, they really do not get, like they really believe this about themselves, and I could fake it a little bit, but then to see someone that really owned it, I think was always very encouraging to me. So I have quite a few friends that have inspired me in that way, and even they call them, like within manifestation world, they call them expanders. And so it's like people that really expand your mind to think of what's possible. And if you can envision yourself being a form of that, then it gives you like motivation and like a line to be able to kind of a path in order to succeed in that. And I have a few friends that are, artists and people that really just own their craft and are the best at what they do, and then but are expressing it in their own unique way. I just think it's really vulnerable, and I think it's really brave, and that I think is what continues to inspire me. So I constantly am always looking for people to inspire me, to be honest, because I'm just like, how are you doing what you do? What keeps you going? What keeps you inspired? How do you keep like, being who you are unapologetically? And I think that that's what I've struggled with, but am damn well not going to give up doing. So yeah.
Nice. That's lovely. That's lovely. I think we should challenge our community to think of expanders in their life. Is that good homework for the week?
Homework for the week. Who inspires you? Who do you look up to? What I Yeah, I was thinking of this thing, but it's kind of negative. And it's like you can choose, you can look at someone, you can either be jealous of them or you can be inspired by them. And so whenever I see like a strong woman, usually when we feel a little bit of envy, it's because they have something that we feel like we don't have. And it's
Mhm.
like, how do you, but instead of like taking it in the negative way, how can you convert that and think of it as something that is like going to encourage you and help you grow?
Good.
So, who's going to help you grow? Who's going to inspire you this week or even this next month, year, whoever you want to be, however time frame you want to place on it? I love that. Good idea, Laura. All right.
I'm all for homework.
Homework for the week.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of homework, what was your song this week?
I am looking to shake my body, to move my body, looking for a good time. So I went with the brightest diamond of them all, Beyonce.
Yes.
And yes, Queen. And Crazy in Love. Because
Oh,
God, don't you love that? A huge throwback. But yeah, little Beyonce action, feeling that vibe. And she is somebody who definitely shines so bright.
yeah. Gosh. I always say this. Beyonce, I love you. I want to say if we ever get this podcast becomes famous, I just want to start with I love you. But I used to be a hater of Beyonce. I used to be like, who is she? How dare she think she is like she's known to be this diva? And I was like, who is she?
Yeah.
And then she became motherfucking Beyonce. And then I was like, oh, that's who you are. But she always knew who she was. And she was like, I will not take anything less than this. And I'm going to be that version of me. And now she's the greatest entertainer in the world. Like, is literally one of the greatest of all time. Like, she'll go down in history. And so I like owning the Beyonce energy. Right after I gave birth, I actually watched Homecoming. I remember I was like, I had a C-section, couldn't move. And I was like laying there with my newborn child, just like staring at me. I was like, I'm gonna be like Beyonce. I was like, I'm gonna lose this weight. I'm gonna bounce back, and I'm gonna have my own homecoming. As I remember, like thinking that after, like, and I was like, I'm going to have this moment where I can like say that like I've overcome all these obstacles. Um, and I would say probably this past year has kind of been that, and I don't think I recognized it at the time, but yeah.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Well, what is your song?
Okay, sorry. I was just thinking, I was like, I love Beyonce. I used to say, what would Beyonce do when I would do certain things?
For
Uh,
sure.
oh, so my song this week is Loner, and it is Make the Most. Now I just realized, I was like, did I just like butcher that title? Um, yes, Make the Most, and it is, yeah, featuring her, and it's all about like not everything's perfect and not everything's like perfectly planned, but let's make the most of what it is, and let's make the most of this moment and of this relationship of this time. And I think that that's kind of where I'm at of like, I don't have everything figured out, but I'm sure making the most of it.
That's all we can ask, right?
Ah, that's what they say.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for chatting today, Farah. And thank you for shining.
Thank you. Thank you for shining. Thank you. Like, thank our community. Like you said, let's all shine together. Let's all lift each other up, and let's be seen and remind all of ourselves of our full potential, because the world's our oyster if we want it. So just like running towards it and loving it.
Love
Peace
it.
out. Peace out. A town down.